All right. It's Wednesday, February 12th. We just came off Fittest of the Coast weekend. We got Reilly good with us. He is in the midst of a rainstorm. I'm in the midst of a snowstorm, and there may be occasional heavy barbells dropping. Can't be that heavy, though. I mean, none of the people over there are any good at fitness, are they?
I mean, Mary Helen's in there dropping some weight, so
Oh, yeah, she's
you
the
know,
only good athlete at your gym.
I don't know about that.
Oh, her
You
and
gotta talk to
Cass. Her
you
and
gotta talk to
Cass.
Cass. Yeah.
Just as long as you're not on the list.
I do
Um,
heavy barbells.
where are you actually, Riley?
So I'm in the office at my gym, Huntsville, Alabama. Well, it's technically Brownsboro, but just outside of Huntsville.
When and Fittest of the Coast was over in Charleston. Do you guys drive out there?
Oh yeah,
How
drove
far is the
over
drive?
7 hours. Um, so lose an hour on the way out, but you get it on the way back, so it's pretty good.
And it's your gym, like you own the gym.
Yep, that's not it. It's basecamp underscore training.
I was about to say, this doesn't look like it.
And how long have you owned the gym?
So I actually built the gym. It's that top thing. Yeah, I built the gym. Started construction August of 2023. Kind of put down some down payments, and then started construction. And then kind of went through some job changes, and then ended up just building the whole inside by myself with my buddy Addison. And um, we opened up for open gym May of 2024, and then started running classes June of 2024.
Do you have a background in construction?
A little bit. I flipped a couple houses. I worked for. I was a project manager for a construction company for a while, and then YouTube University. Pretty good at that.
Dude, it's crazy. I've spoken to actually through CrossFit and traveling for competitions. I've met a variety of different people who have taken on construction projects without really much of a background, and like this looks legit.
It was a big project. It was a lot of fun. It really was.
What was the kind of inspiration for getting this place, building this place, creating the space for the people that are there?
Yeah, so I'm from Illinois. We had an awesome community there. Um, I moved down to Alabama to Huntsville, and had started kind of like wanting to get more serious about competing, and there wasn't really any great spaces for that. And so um, I've always wanted to own a gym, and just had a passion for that for like the last 10 years of my life. And um, I just wanted to create that space. I had probably 12 friends here that kind of were seeing the same frustrations. Like they want to jump into class sometimes, but they also want to do their own thing. Everybody had their own individual goals. And so, um, I just was very fortunate. I had a pretty good job for a while. And, I just put that into building this space for people.
And it's not even a year that it's been open. Has there been, what's the like trajectory been over the last 9 months or so in terms of, is it on par with what you expected? Were there some surprises or maybe things that were like totally different than what you thought it would be?
Yeah. So I thought it would be a lot slower of a start. Um, when we opened, it was pretty awesome how many people just immediately jumped on and wanted to, what it felt like just like kind of support me. But now it's like turned into a really amazing community. I was just talking with one of my members last night. I asked her, hey, how was the workout yesterday? She's like, she came and she was here for like a couple hours, and she just was talking to other members, and they were just hanging out. And that's not what we encourage here, but it's really really cool. People just want to be here and want to work out here and spend time here. Um, and so I think that has been the most surprising thing is that it's not just a gym. It's really a community of people that want to come and get better and help each other, which has been that was my dream. I just wanted a space where everybody could come, feel welcomed, accomplish whatever they want, and um, you know, have some fun while they're doing it.
It's an interesting place to be in where like you're almost in it, like you recognize that you had envisioned something and it's happening around you at the same time. And then, I mean, I would imagine that, I mean, just knowing you a little bit that I know you, that you're kind of probably never settled. Like you're always looking at the next thing. So as you've built up this community over these last 9 months, are you already thinking about future next steps? Like, you know,
Yeah. I mean, I've got like 5 acres here, and got pretty cool. We have some opportunities to do some cool things. I'm partnered with, so I work at a supplement company, EFP, Edge Fitness Performance, and they actually do all of their wholesale out of here. So,
oh wow.
all of their packaging, everything. And I've been working with him for like 3, 4 years now. And so we have some visions for that to, have its own building, its own
Sure.
athlete facility as well, like pretty cool space there. He's pretty big into baseball too, so we kind of talk about some batting cages, some other things on the horizon as well. So I'd like to turn this. I want to use this whole space, and I don't. My biggest thing is I want to help people get healthy and impact their lives in a positive way with like that gym life community. So, so yeah, we have a lot of plans that I would love to see come to fruition. Might take a little bit of time, but um, we're already at the drawing board.
You've said two things already that I think are pretty critical, especially at this time in our community where there's a lot of dissension. There's a lot of people that feel at odds with each other. I know there was a video that went out a couple days ago of a conference in Germany that Rich Froning and Facundo and those guys were at, where he was speaking to the people there and saying, he's using the word CrossFit, but he's saying like, you guys are CrossFit. You guys are what it's all about. And to hear you talk about that this is not just a gym, it's a community, and how quickly that's developed. And then also to hear the emphasis on creating a place for people to get healthy and fit. Like to me, despite everything else that I've been frustrated with in the last 6 months to 6 years, those two things are the core. And it sounds like it's the same for you.
Oh, 100%. One big thing, when I opened the gym was we're not just focusing on CrossFit or training. Like we're focused, like we have a sauna and a cold plunge here. And, my background, I got to work with a doctor who specialized in helping women balance out hormones. I brought on, some coaches that are very knowledgeable in other areas as well, that aren't going to just like come in, coach a class and leave. Like they want to help other members get healthy. They're going to have conversations. They're willing to do that. Like the 45-minute class that they take, that's the easy part. That's fun. Like we keep it fun. We make sure they're getting better. We scale it appropriately so they get the right stimulus. The things that happen outside, that's the part that I feel like has been missing from a lot of different gyms. And it just takes some time, more effort, right? It takes people that are truly passionate about like seeing the community grow. And I think that when you have that, it happens pretty naturally. At least it has for me, which I've been very, very grateful for.
Dude, that's awesome to hear. I didn't even really realize what you were doing out there. I'm happy to learn about it. The other thing that's been, I guess, kind of a staple for me over the past 2 years, but probably a lot longer than that as well. I would say I've just like refined my perspective on it, is how competition can impact health and fitness. Because when I first saw the CrossFit Games or the regionals back in 2013, 14, 15, I just thought it was freaking cool. These guys were superheroes. The competition was sick. And I didn't really make the connection until many years later of realizing that, because we're here to talk about Fittest of the Coast ultimately, and we're gonna talk about Reilly a bit too. But there were 1,500 athletes that competed there, and every one of those athletes puts that date on their calendar, and then if there's someone in your gym, they're like, "Hey, coach, what should I do to get ready for Fittest of the Coast? And now you have that opportunity to lean into those things that are not just the 45-minute class.
Yep. Yeah, and everybody's working out, right? Anybody that goes to those comps are working out, right? And I have a lot of members who just love to work out. They come in, they love the class, and they go home. And then I have a lot of members that they come in, they get frustrated, and hey, how can I get better faster? How can I improve this area of my life, right? And so it is really cool. Like some members, they choose to like dive into, hey, I'm going to try a competition. It's really cool to see the other areas of their lives they start making some adjustments in. And I don't like push competitions on anybody, but like it is pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool just seeing how that little push can have people like look into other areas of their life that they might not have looked into before. Because again, I only see my members for an hour a day, right? I don't know if they do the other 23. Happy to help with it, but I don't know unless they kind of tell me.
And it goes, I think, all the way back to one of the earliest stories that I remember hearing about Glassman, which is basically that you come here consistently a couple hours a week, 4 or 5 hours a week, whatever. And a lot of things in your life are going to end up changing for good if you're able to stick with that over time. And, that time, how long it takes for those things to happen varies for everyone and also for whatever the thing is that you want to change. But it's pretty clear as long, the longer that you're around this stuff, that it's a lot more than just learning how to do a ring muscle up, a strict handstand push up, a snatch, or a heavy back squat. That there's a lot of elements that come out of that. And I did want to go. I have to ask because I don't think Patrick and I are both from Illinois, and I don't know how often it is that we actually have guests from Illinois. What part of Illinois are you from?
So I grew up in a small town called Manhattan, Illinois. It's like New Lenox, Joliet area.
Manhattan, Illinois. No idea. Joliet,
Yes.
been there before.
Yeah, that's supposed to be your neck of the woods, mine. I'm a Southern Illinois guy, so
yeah, it's where it drops off in the cornfields.
yeah, I gotcha.
You want to say go ahead.
No, they might. Reilly's gym might have one. They might be the only gym that has a coach that's like a NASA rocket scientist.
Oh yeah, Liz
is awesome.
Is incredible. So intelligent, weightlifting cert. She's awesome. She's
she's a high quality CrossFit Games judge too.
Oh yeah, yep. She's judged multiple different events. She's incredible. We were very, very lucky to have some really awesome coaches.
Yeah, I mean between her and Mary, I mean and yourself, it looks like your community is a lot of experience, a lot of depth of I mean just the intelligence and just the experience. Like I said, it's very impressive what you built there in such a short time.
The coaching is really, really important to me. Not just who can get someone like through a class, like who's going to like truly help the members. Like these members mean everything to me. Like that's like this is like my purpose, and so I'm just very, very grateful for our coaching staff. It's pretty awesome.
I always think about the coaches as like it's a multifaceted thing, and you can be, to use some CrossFit terminology, you can be a great seer and corrector, but if you don't have the emotional awareness to like relate to a person or to identify, okay, they need some help with this, but today they just need a high five, like that. It's about finding those ways to communicate the expertise more so that sometimes than the expertise.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's there's always something to fix. I mean, when I go out there and snatch, sometimes, another coach is like, dude, keep the bar closer. There's like, there's things I need to, I can always do better. And there's some days I just want to go work out. Don't talk to me. Just not often, but, I just need to go.
We all have those days.
Yeah.
So prior to, I was looking back. It looks like, at least, you never could be quite sure with the CrossFit Games profiles, but I have you marked down as 2016 first open. Does that sound right?
Sounds right. Yeah, I think 2016.
pretty good placement that year, 165,000 worldwide.
Awesome. Crushed it.
Right.
I,
Jumped up to 3,700 the next year, so something must have changed.
I started CrossFit, I think it was like 2 months before the Open. And they're
I'm
like,
not
you should
gonna
just
I'm not
do
gonna
it.
check, but I'm pretty confident that I will have one competition victory over you, and it's the 2016 Open.
Hey, there you go. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, oh, this is like a thing? Like you like compete against everyone? This is awesome. I loved it.
Well, and I wanted to just kind of bring it back to the roots for a little bit because some people listening to this will know you really well and others won't. But that was 2016, and if I'm not mistaken, this year for the first time you had a chance to compete at the CrossFit Games. It was on a team, but that's a long time. I'm sure that the idea of competing in the games came into your mind within a couple years of doing this, and the pursuit of getting there took quite a while.
Yes.
And I think, well, I guess I would just want to ask you, like, what is that process like from realizing that you might have that potential and that you have that interest to achieve something like that, and then to maybe have to wait 7 years to finally realize it?
Yeah. So going after that first Open, the next year, I think up until workout 5, I think I was in a qualifying position for regionals in the Central region. And it came down to, it was the deadlift. I think it was a deadlift workout. Crushed me. Terrible. Knocked me out. I was like, oh, there it goes. And the next year is almost the same workout. Knocked me out again for regionals again. And I was like working 3 jobs. I was going to the gym. I was super involved in my affiliate. I got my level 1. I was coaching. I just loved it. I was poster child for CrossFit. I'm like, yeah, like I was all in. But I wasn't doing anything outside of the gym that I needed to. Nutrition, sleep, recovery, actually working on the mental side of things. And so I said I wanted all these things, but I didn't really have any guidance. I was just doing it on my own. I think at that time I was following Comp Train, mixed with Misfits, like whatever I could find on the internet that looked good. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Let's do this. And then started actually like getting more serious about coaching is kind of how that transitioned. And I had moved down to Bloomington, Illinois, and was coaching full time at a gym, and got hooked up with Matt Bryant of Golden Line Training. That's Cassie's coach. And my gym owner started paying for him to coach me. And super grateful for Chad. Chad, awesome guy. Really invest. Like he's who I learned how to run a gym from. He really invested back in his coaches. He loves his members. Like really, pours into them. And so I started working with Matt. And that first, right when I started working with Matt, actually right about the time you're at right now with my Instagram. If you scroll up a little bit, I qualified for Wadapalooza, and it was just RX. But I ended up getting second to Gi, and that was like my first bit of like success in terms of like actually competing. Got to meet some awesome guys, got to have a lot of fun. And
second to Guy, but more importantly, you were one of the 3 guys that helped keep Andrew Hiller off the podium. We're all really happy about that.
Yeah, I think he was in second going into the final workout, and it was a swim workout. A swim, D-balls over the shoulders, and pistols. And I'm like, well, I'm going to win this workout. Like, I like swimming. I'm a squatter, so, like, pistols are great. And the D-ball was, I think it was only a 100-pound D-ball. I'm like, that's great. But, yeah, there's me and Hiller right there.
This sounds eerily similar to an event I just watched you do last week.
I like the pool. I do like the pool. So yeah, that was my first bit of success, and that's when I was like, okay, maybe I could do this. And so that's when I kind of really started making some big changes in my life. kind of figuring out like, what I was willing to give up and what I was willing to like do with my life to compete. Um, and I would say I kind of went pretty hyper focused, maybe a little bit too far, and was trying to just add way too many things to my plate and just kind of forgot about some of the basics a little bit. So um, throughout this whole time, I was always working, multiple jobs just to, pay my bills. I owned a couple of houses at that time, and obviously had mortgages to pay. Um, Moved down to Alabama, and um, started working at another gym, which took a little bit of time, and that was when I was like doing whatever I had to do financially, like working just to pay for my life, so I could train, compete, and do that. Um, so I would say, for a period, I started doing sales where I only had to work like probably like 5-6 hours a day, and then it gave me a lot of flexibility to actually start doing 2 sessions a day, sleeping how I needed to, um, and really kind of pursuing that. And then I think it was 2021 was when I was at Granite Games. I did like really, really well. It was the first year quarterfinals. The workouts were like perfect for me. Like they were great. And so I think I finished like 23rd in quarterfinals. I was like hyped up. I'm like, I'm definitely going to the games, like all this stuff. And wasn't even close. I think I got like 16th, 19th, something like that, at Granite Games. And so just went back to the drawing board. But again, like for me, that was like, it was just really rewarding. I just felt like I kept getting to another step and another step and another step. And looking back, it's like that's what was really driving me to keep kind of doubling down and going a little bit more in. So yeah, after that the next year I went to, I was at, it's not Syndicate, it was the same location, but
Mac.
Mac. I was at Mac. Had some really good finishes and then a couple really poor finishes. Finished like middle of the pack. It was like 13th, 14th, and the top 5 went. And the next year I didn't even qualify for semifinals because I couldn't do crossover singles. Like so dumb.
Maybe another workout I beat you on. There's a lot of pros that I beat on that workout.
Hey, I'm just saying though, you definitely beat me in that workout for sure. I did terrible. I did that workout 4 times in the same day. Like the dumbbell was fine. I could do that all day. I couldn't.
Important to note that at the MAC that year, you did beat Jake Marconi. I just want to throw that in there.
I did. That was super fun. I mean, I really, that was probably my favorite competition was the MAC. That up to that point, I just felt like I overcame a lot of like mental barriers because my coach told me like, hey, we weren't really going for it that year. We still knew that I need to work on ring muscle ups and like this rope climbs, and he's like, but let's go see what happens, right? And so I got to just go, throw down, have fun, and just like do better than I thought I would, So yeah, then the next year, got coming to it, not even making semifinals was like, oh shoot, am I like going backwards? And it was hard to like kind of keep perspective of. I like really changed my whole perspective on competing and who I wanted to be and why I was doing this. And my goal just changed from, just making the games to like I just wanted to like see how fit I could get and have a lot of fun doing it. And I kind of had retired and was like not going to really like say I was going for it anymore. And I hadn't worked out for a little bit after that semifinal. I went with to support some of our athletes with Edge with EFP, and Mary Helen made me go do Murph with her shortly after that. But it wasn't regular Murph, if you know Mary Helen, of course. It was we have invested. We started with bar muscle ups, handstand push ups, and pistols. partner style. Um, and I thought I had wrapped her after that. That was great. And, but like, her, like, if you know Mary Helen, she likes to come in, do her own thing. So like for her to like ask me to come do that, it was like kind of pulled me back in. I was like, you know what, that was fun, And I remembered, you know, I've met so many amazing people through CrossFit, and it just kind of brought me back to that, like why I do it. I love slinging around a barbell. I love doing that, but I really love meeting people and helping people through fitness almost more than anything. So I kind of got fired up, but my mission changed from just being a competitive athlete to building my gym and creating this space, and honestly, just finding a lot more joy in like the actual competing side. And so me and Tyler had just kind of started chatting. We were at Beach Brawl, and I just we had kind of thrown around a bit. About going team. We're like, we're not going to do that. And then I called him one day. I was like, hey, man, I've been talking with my coach. I'm going to be building my gym. And I'm just not going to have the ability to really focus on being an individual athlete. Like the level at which everybody's at, like I'm still behind on a few things. And I just know what it's going to take to get there. And I don't have the ability to do that this year. And so I'm going to go team, and I know you want to go individual, but I had to let you know. And he called me back. I don't know. It was like an hour later. He's like, wait, whoa. Like, if anyone's going team with you, it's me. And, awesome. So we kind of started figuring out some girls. And, the biggest thing for us was we just wanted to have a blast. And we were at Beach Brawl, and, Brooklyn worked with my coach as well. I switched over to Michael McElroy with Mayhem, and he works with Brooklyn. She just won Beach Brawl, and then Sydney was on our team, and I was like, "What if we could get Brooklyn?" I just called her, and after it, and we set it up. We did a training camp together, and we had a blast. And there it was, Team AFP from out of CrossFit 1124.
Well, if anybody watched in person or remotely the semifinal last year, they're not going to doubt the fact that you guys are having fun out there.
They're having fun.
It was the year before that in Orlando. There was a team out of Central America that just stole the show in terms of energy, and last year that was you guys. I mean, there were times where I wasn't even aware of what else was going on the floor. I was literally just enjoying watching you guys do your thing and have fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, none of us had games experience, and Sydney had only done I think 5 competitions total in her life. Brooklyn had done a few. She was at semis the last year with Hickory Hoosiers, and just a bunch of no names, just rolling out. We were just having so much fun. We didn't really care. We just wanted to crush every single workout. And yeah, it was just like that year was just really, really special for all of us. Really special for all of us.
I remember the show we did before Syndicate when we were picking teams, and your team was one of the teams that I think, like myself, and of course, I think we had Bella on, but me and Bella, knowing Sydney and then knowing your background, and then just, I mean, we're I think collective, me and Bella, like this is the team to watch, just because if anything, you're going to enjoy watching them on the field of play, and we get the Syndicate, and immediately that's what it was. I mean, from the first event on, it was just fun. Whether you guys are finished first, which you guys were in the top 3 at a lot of events, or finishing 5th or 6th in your heat, you guys brought it, and you had so much fun. And I think I said the same thing to you down at Wadapalooza. It's like, if being hype and having fun gave you an edge in the standings, you guys would be a podium team every single time. But And I've said that to Sydney as well, especially coming off the games. I mean, obviously, you're a team that feeds off your community, yourselves, hype, having fun, and obviously the games, take a different turn when you guys are on the floor. It's like I saw a more subdued team than usual, and I understand that. Do you think the circumstances around the games and what happened might have taken away from maybe you guys having a better finish, or do you think the games is where you finish is where you finish?
I think it's two parts. I mean, it was obviously that it was very tough for us to like feel like we could just go out and just be our authentic selves with what had happened. Um, we also had a behind the scenes. Brooklyn was pregnant, 5 months pregnant when we were at the games, and so I think some of us in our mind we were just like we weren't really sure what to expect at that point. Um, and so yeah, it was very different than what we're used to. Now we were still trying to have fun, but it just I think if you walked into the Coliseum, you could just feel like it was just heavy. It was just really heavy. And all four of us are people that I think we are really sensitive to like the atmosphere and kind of what's going on. Um, Not saying that we let that dictate us, but we really we love people. We love our gyms. We love really really hard. And so like when that happens too, it definitely had an impact on us for sure. Um, you know, I I just yeah, with what happened, just taking that into account, I don't think it really affected our placing. I don't think we really cared at that point about the placing. We cared more about that being a culmination of the year that we had together, um, because all of us needed that year. The training, everything. All of us had different stuff in our life. Brooklyn ran a sub 7 mile, 5 months pregnant. Like that's crazy. Like we just like look back at everything that we were able to accomplish even with what was going on. And so did it affect a little bit maybe, but for us it you know we still feel like we have some unfinished business to let people know how what we are capable of. Um, but yeah, I don't think with what happened we don't really care about the finish at that point.
You've talked about it a couple times now, and I'm just gonna throw a comment up here to give you a. I think this will be a feel good thing because I think it really is who you are, and I think it's carried through the narrative that you've kind of told. This is a guy you may know, Ryan Jevning. He put this comment up here right at the start of the podcast that back in 2018 was his first high level competition.
Yeah.
And that you were one of maybe the only guy that came up to this kind of rookie on the scene, and took the time to get to know him and to talk to him a little bit. And you didn't even talk about this competition; you jumped straight into the 2020 Wadapalooza. But even back, before you had done too much yourself, you were just over there getting to know people and loving hard, like you say.
Yeah. People are my passion. I love people. I remember meeting. It's actually funny. His profile picture is that's the jacket that we got at 2018.
Oh, no way.
Granite Games there. I remember, and this really impacted me because I've just always been like that. My mom always used to say, Reilly's never met somebody that didn't become his best friend. I love people. And I used to come home with new best friends all the time. Like, hey, this is my best friend, Michael. What? Who's that? And so, but Travis Mayer actually sat next. We had to get bused to this big hill that we had an event at for that competition. And Travis sat next to me and was talking to me, and that actually had an impact on me too. Because at that time, I'm like, oh my goodness, Travis Mayer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know exactly who you are. Nick Matthew is there, like a bunch of guys. And he just had a conversation with me the whole way there, and that just had an impact on me. And I try and do the same thing for other people. I mean, I'm not really a big name or anything, but like I like to talk to people, and
well, this week, I
help
mean,
everyone I can.
this is maybe the perfect transition to the fittest of the coast, because Pool Boy was out there, and this was the first comment before we even went on the air today. It was good meeting you. Keep killing it out there and keep spreading your positive attitude. And I didn't pay any of these guys to write this stuff. This is just what the impression that you leave with your fellow competitors is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that means a lot to me. Because competitions come and go, right? But just how you, I don't know, how you interact with people, that I think that leaves a longer impression than just how you finish.
So, Fittest of the Coast just happened, and we did say that we would talk about it here. I wanted to take this time to get to know you a little bit, and to give people a chance who may not know you to hear some of your background. Some of that was new for me. Some of it is stuff that I've been looking forward to hearing you talk about. But what was the you have to do the qualifier to compete at Fittest of the Coast. There's no invites or like, oh, you did this well last year or anything like that.
Correct.
So how did that come about that you just decided to do a qualifier and then go and compete in Charleston?
Yeah, so the question me and my coach, we kind of sat down after the games, and Brooklyn obviously was having a baby, so we were kind of deciding, am I going individual, am I going team? I was replacing Brooklyn, so we just wanted to, if I was going to go individual, let's have at least an individual comp on the calendar for later in the year. I always do beach brawl, and that doesn't have a qualifier. I'm going to do that every year. So Fittest of the Coast was probably like the biggest one that still had a qualifier. I wasn't going to do Wadapalooza just from a timing standpoint. Like I wasn't going to do it at all. And then Tyler talked me into that one as team, so I ended up going anyways. But Fittest of the Coast was like, we wanted a qualifier, and then we wanted to actually in person. We knew there was going to be at least a bunch of semifinal guys, but there should be some games people there as well, whether it be team or individual. Last year Dre did it, a bunch of guys, and so that just made sense. And I went there last year. It was an awesome run event. I was like, that's great. Let's do that, and especially because they always have a high level gymnastics, and that's what I really wanted to be tested in as well. So in a competition setting. So, we did the qualifier, one and done. Like we're not doing redos. Like if we make it, great. If not, back to work. But yeah, super fun. There was, multiple other people in my gym doing it as well. So it's all community as well. Right. So, I tried, I just try and I do the class workout once a week here. I want to be a part of what people are doing in the gym as well. So it just made a lot of sense for Fittest of the Coast. We did the qualifier. I almost redid a workout because I was winning the qualifier. I was like, I kind of want to win the qualifier now. I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. That's fine. Let's just go compete. And so, qualified, and then ended up doing team as well with Ashley. I was going to be there anyways. Like, why not? Why wouldn't I do that? I do that for beach brawl. I should do it for Fittest of the Coast. That's how that came about.
And you clearly have done many competitions, from Granite Games to Wadapalooza. You mentioned beach brawl, semifinals, games. You've seen athletes compete all over the place. What was, as an athlete or just a person with other athletes there, community, however you want to talk about it, what was, we'll go into a little bit of the competition in a minute, but just as like, what's the overall feeling coming back from Charleston after the weekend?
Yeah, I'm really proud of myself. When I leave a competition, I kind of think of two parts. Like first, I actually have the athletic side because I want to get better, but also just like how I carried myself and kind of what the flow of the competition was. And, I had a little bit of adversity. I had to bounce back and like mentally, like really fight through some things. And so I'm really proud of myself because I feel like I've grown quite a bit on that side, at least like kind of bouncing back and not letting it carry into other workouts or even my conversations with people. And so my feelings coming back from Charleston is all of our training that I've been doing with Michael's working, and I'm getting better at my high school gymnastics, which is great. That's been a big goal of mine for like 3 years now. So it's finally all coming together. And then also, I also have this feeling that I have another, I still feel like I have another gear I haven't quite tapped into yet. So
Nice.
I'm looking forward to this next 3 months of training, honestly.
You mentioned it a while ago, and then you talked about it just now as well. The mental side of being a competitor or an athlete. I don't, I could maybe count on one hand the number of times that I've spoken to an athlete publicly or privately after a competition, and they've told me, "Man, everything just went perfect at this competition." Like it never happens.
Yeah,
And you're, what are you, 32 now?
there too.
And it's not old, but for an athlete, like you've been around for a while, you've done a lot of stuff. Is there kind of something that you maybe want to share that you've kind of held on to or learned over the years that helps you when adversity does strike kind of inevitably in a competition?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is I mean I'm it's my faith is kind of what I fall back onto, and I also just like this is CrossFit, and I feel like we make it like this huge thing, and I know that I did in my life at least, and if I failed in a workout, I failed in something, like I like really took that really personally, which really can drive you, it can push you farther. Um, but for me, like lately, it's just like I think that there's a saying like pressure is a privilege, right? And that's something that my coaches kind of drilled into me, and you know I just feel like I'm just starting to get some of that, and I'm like, it does kind of like give me this like boost, like I'm supposed to do well in this, so let's go do it, right? And not just like overcomplicate things. And um, I think that's the biggest thing for me, like, is not just thinking too much of it, get my game plan in, and then let's go execute.
I think it's an important message right now because that story that you were telling from the 2016 through 18 time period, and then even into the quarterfinals, semifinals, the pursuit, like maybe there was like a 2-year interruption, but there was a huge group of athletes like you that like they put it on their calendar. I want to make it to regionals. And like that was so important.
Yeah,
And then, we went through the sanctionals time period. Everyone was a little confused. People kind of finding their own way.
yeah,
Semifinals comes around, and it was like a repurpose. And actually it may have expanded to more people, because now somebody like me could be like, I want to make the quarterfinals. Like, that's cool that I can be in the top 10%. I can earn the second stage. And of course, it's with the semifinals, it was the regionals more or less, became a little bit more difficult to make it in the later years. But now we're at this time where people don't know what to do. There's obviously a regression in open participation. There's a bunch of people that it's so limited. There's less game spots. There's less semifinals online. It's not even an in-person semifinal. There's all these, it's like kind of the worst of all this stuff is one way to think about it. But there's also this thing that you're talking about, is that it's not the most important thing in the world, but pursuing something that's meaningful to you is an important, not just you, me, whoever, is important. And I think that the competitive fitness landscape globally allows tons of opportunity for that. And it's something that's important to Patrick and I to communicate to people regularly, is, when something starts, which in this case was the CrossFit Games, it's the only thing that exists. But over the course of the evolution of it, I couldn't even tell you how many professional golf tours there are. And, there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, young men and women that are pursuing making it to the PGA or LPGA tour that are never going to make it there.
yeah,
But they can find something in their countries, in their continents, in their caliber of athlete that they can put on the calendar and try to chase and pursue. And I liked the way that you talked about that. I thought it was a nice maybe reminder for people that even if you've lost faith in the game season, or you're skeptical about the WFP, or you don't know, like, there is something out there for you. You just have to go and find it.
Yeah, there's 1,500 competitors at Fittest of the Coast, Charleston, North Carolina, or South Carolina, and everybody was there, just like having a blast. Like I just saw so many people like in the warm up area, just like the nerves, like that just fires me up when I see so many people. Like you can see like the nerves in their face, but then they come back and like smiling. Some people are frustrated, but then like they like kind of realize like it's awesome. All of those emotions, like I just feel like if you go into a competition, you don't take something away from it, you don't learn something, like you didn't do it right. Like there's always something, like, and I can guarantee you that it's going to push you a lot further than you even thought that it would take you, right? And so every competition I've done I've learned something from it. And I just think that is super cool.
And I think that will always be the case. And you could even break it down more granularly. It's almost like every workout. Every time you go into the gym, you have that opportunity if you want it. Let's look at the competition finally. We'll start. Like you mentioned, you did both of the competitions. I had considered inviting you on the podcast after I saw that you podiumed on the individual side, but it wasn't until you podiumed on both sides that I actually said, all right, fine, I'll have I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But we'll look at the individual competition. Does start first. I've been there covering it the last 2 years. It sounds like they often, or maybe always, start with some kind of offsite event for the individuals. And the seating is based on the qualifier. So you actually there's quite a few talented names on this leaderboard. Some of them may be known to people, and some of these may be unfamiliar or new names. But you go to the swimming event there, it's kind of scattered. Obviously, you like to swim. We had some thrusters with a sandbag. It seemed like really a great workout for you. But Quinn put up a pretty impressive time before that. You got to watch that. Does that, when you see somebody go in a heat before you in a workout that you know that you're good at, and they put up an impressive time, does that make you nervous, or does it like increase your desire to crush it?
Yeah, that fires me up. I love that. I mean, I like seeing people succeed. Like I don't ever want someone to do worse. Honestly, especially in a workout that I know that I'm good at. Like I'm like, okay, I want you to set a good time. Like I want to beat it. And I think Quinn was swimming his 50s in like 32 seconds. And I was like, I'm definitely not doing that. I know my lane. I'm 5'7" 3/4, and I'm a thick boy. So like, I know my paces in the pool, and I was like, if I got out of the pool like 40 seconds, like that's where I need to be. But yeah, I saw he was getting out quick, and I'm like, shoot, that means he's got an extra like 6-7 seconds. That's already 3 thrusters. So I got to make up 3 thrusters. It's pretty much like, I just got to break it down into like a time, like how much I need to catch up. And so yeah, when I saw he got like, I think he was like 13 left in that second interval, I was like, maybe I could do it in 2. Maybe I could do it in 2.
You wanted to do it in 2. You were not happy.
Well, for some reason, when I was in that second interval, I had in my mind that I had to go to 150. And so I took a little pause because like,
I remember that pause.
I took a little pause, like I'm not going to make it. And then she goes, you have 3 left. I was like, I just messed up big. And so I thought that the last swim might come into, I was frustrated myself because I thought that last swim might come into effect because he was swimming really fast. I mean, and so I was like, okay, I think I have 10 thruster lead. It should be enough, but I'm going to have to push the swim a little bit on this one. I don't feel great. So,
and of course, I'm standing there filming it and commentating, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, the lactic acid's catching up. And little did I know, you're thinking you have 15 more reps to do.
I thought 18. Yeah. And so I was like, shoot. Okay. Well, I better just like pause because I need to swim quick because I'm going to have to catch up like 5 thrusters. In my mind, I had 5 thrusters to catch up on that last interval. And then I was like, shoot, I could have done it. But yeah, at that point, it's like, okay, great. I'm going to go for a swim. I'm going to do 3 thrusters. We're done anyways. Just would have been cool to finish in that second interval.
And then I'm trying to remember because the way that Fittest of the Coast runs, they've got 2 floors back to back. So even though it says event 2 and event 3, the women did, I think, event 2 and then event 3, but you guys did 3 and then 2. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
And so you come back into the venue, you do event 3, which for you guys, I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Quinn took a 26 on that because he wasn't good at handstand pirouettes, basically. But what did you think was the critical part of that event?
My grip blew up on the toes to bar, which doesn't usually happen. And so, yeah, I think the critical part for me was the toes to bar. I had one little slip up. Honestly, it came down to mistakes, in my opinion, because there's so many good guys that were there. If you made a mistake, somebody capitalized, and that was 1 or 2 spots right away. And when I did my pirouette, my one hand was just over the line. I had to walk backwards a little bit, and that probably cost like 7 seconds at least. And it cost me 1 spot. So it's just for me on that, I think I got a 7th on that one. I just had that one little mix up, and then I came out a little bit too hot on the first ski, and then I knew I was going to be able to blast the second ski.
Dude, you are fast on the ski. I have to say, like you said, you're not the tallest guy in the field. Sometimes people think that like that long length is everything. What makes you? I mean, I think you were the first one off the ski, and I think you passed someone who should have had like a 5-calorie lead on you on the last ski.
I think I passed 3 people on that last ski. I needed it. My toes bar just went to crap. And I don't know, I ski quite a bit. And we've been using that as a tool to kind of help me get better at legless rope climbs and all my pulling, because I'm a really good presser, and pulling's kind of been the thing. So like, that's the machine that we just got to live on for a while.
Mason basically says it's because you're fat.
Dude, I love Mason. He's just jealous, honestly. He's really good at machines. That dude he's really good at machines. I'll take him on a ski, though.
Okay, let's set it up, do a little throwdown. The last event that you guys had that day, this is interesting because I had said in the run-up to the competition, it was basically a play on first cut from the 2019 games with some running, some snatching, and some rope climbs. It wasn't legless rope climbs, but it wasn't as heavy of a snatch, but it was, or maybe it was, but it wasn't a squat snatch. And I was like, man, the people who win this event are going to win this competition. But it was by far your worst event. Yeah. And you still end up on the podium. But what I really wanted to ask you about, because this is the adversity that you were alluding to. You have an amazing morning, a pretty good middle of the day where you salvage a result by closing really hard. It's a 4-round workout. I always caution people about even round workouts. Like, get to the halfway point in control. And you were not by any means the only person who failed to do that and just had this, like, probably by your perception, a really bad second half to that event. And then it's the last event of the day, which is, it's always tough to end a day of competition with kind of something that maybe is that frustrating.
So I in the back warm-up area, I just like couldn't get my heart rate down. My heart rate kept like spiking. And I don't know if it's just because I don't work out late. Like, I coach every morning at 5 a.m. So like, I'm like done with my workouts typically by like 4 o'clock, like when I coach the evening classes. And so, on occasion I work out at night, so it's not really an excuse, but like, I just had some other things in my mind kind of going into that event. And I kind of had built up this anticipation. I knew if I got, like, when I did this, this is the only workout I actually tried. And the only reason I did it is because Mayhem or my coach had programmed it like for a Mayhem throwdown with some other guys. And I went like over a minute faster. And I used a runner. So I knew that time, and some other people kind of told me their times and they tested it. And I was like, if I get 7th or better on this event, like I'm going to win the competition. And so I had that like in my head. And because I just knew the other 2 workouts that were coming, I knew I was going to get top 5 on the remuscle up workout. I knew I was going to win the clean, because it was all about the cleans on the 4th event. And so I just was like looking at the point spread. I was like, if I do 7th or better, I don't think anybody can catch me. And so I had that in my head. I shouldn't have even thought about it. I should have just went and worked out like I always do. But I changed it. And I was just like way too focused on the outcome, which so after the workout, I'm super frustrated. And, me and my coach are talking about it, whatever. And, I just looked at, I don't know why I did that. I don't do that. I don't really care about the outcome. All I usually care about is what can I do to do the best possible on this event? Because that's all I can control. I can't even control tomorrow. I might wake up and not be able to lift 315. Who knows? Right? So like, why are we even like talking about that or thinking about it? And so I think I just built it up so much that I just was just pretty anxious about it. And, ended up obviously having a really bad workout, and it cost me. Yeah, it cost me first place. So, that was the adversity. I spent like a good bit of time after the event. Like once I went back, I just had some quiet time, just kind of processed it, and just recognized kind of what I did. And, because I don't want to do that again. And I also didn't envision myself like doing what I did when I practiced that event. I just envisioned myself getting top 7 in that event. So, even on the first round, I did 5 snatches instead of 6, had to go back. I was already starting to climb the rope. My judge brought me back, had to hit a 6 snatch. Cost me like 10 seconds at least. Even that 10 seconds would have been 1 or 2 spots. Now I beat Noah and I'm on second. So there's just so many different things that kind of played into just that one workout, right? So it was honestly really good for me because, I've been kind of going through this season where, a lot of my priorities have been changing. And, that's something I tried to just take way too much control rather than just continuing to just like trust. And that's where my faith kind of comes in. I just try to just like take the wheel my own and take control of my whole everything. And, for me, I just need to trust a little bit more and just go have fun fitnessing like I do. And, because like event 4, event 5, I had a blast again. I brought it back to like, really what I like to do. And like, I knew if I could hold on to the 6 muscle ups, I'd get second and beat Noah, but like I didn't have it, and I still had a blast. I was very proud of my performance, because a lot of guys, struggled on those muscle ups. I felt like I did really well for me comparative to past years. So Quinn ran a perfect event on that. No one was going to touch him. He crushed that. And I needed him to get like I said, I don't want anybody to do worse just so I can win, so it was cool that he just absolutely smashed that. It was awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, it's for me, I watched Quinn compete as an individual for the first time at this competition last year. He went against Dre, and he was in the mix until the last event, and Dre just ran a perfect event, and he finished second. Yeah. So maybe it's your turn to do that next year.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I'll be back for sure.
I really like the way that you walked us through that, because I've seen plenty of athletes who would end a day with a bad performance and not be able to get over it. And then it would prevent them from having what should be good performances the next day or the next 2 days of a competition. And then they end up kind of short of their goals. And then they look back, and then it's this compounding thing. And sometimes you'll hear coaches or athletes talk about like, let's just move on to the next one. We'll deal with that after the competition. And maybe that works for some people, but you took the time to process that, to sit with that night, whatever that is, to internalize, whether it's your faith, talking with some people, being by yourself, so that you could come back the next day and do what you always do, which is enjoy competing. Yeah. And it was pretty clear for definitely for people who are watching on site on the live stream. Sometimes it's some wide views and it's harder to tell what each athlete's perspective or emotion is, dude, on this event.
Yeah.
I had to ask, did you watch the live stream back of this one?
I did.
Because I'm basically just thinking to myself that D-ball's not that heavy. It's 200 double unders. Everyone's going to finish these clean and jerk or get to these cleans within like 10 seconds, 5 seconds of each other.
Yeah.
And then Reilly's just going to lay the hammer down. But Frank Minervini in the outside lane finishes and no one else is moving. And I think I talked to him. I think his judge just told him to go early. There's no way. And not just because it's Frank, like anybody, like he was too far ahead. And so he like looks around, like takes his time, does a whole squat clean. And I just like backed all the way up because he was the only one on the barbell.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I saw you lifting, I was like, oh, we better go over here because I know this is only going to take 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. I told Hank I would, Brenda, I told him I'd touch and go if I had to. If someone was ahead of me, I said I would touch and go. And luckily me and Quinn were at the barbell at the same time, so I didn't have to. But I told him if someone's ahead of me, I'm going touch and go. I'm gonna win this event.
But you also had a slight advantage by the lane draw on that one because you were in the back row.
Oh yeah,
so you could see everything.
Yeah, and I was able to break my dubs too because I have a pretty fast cycle rate on dubs, and so I tripped once, but then I looked over, I could hear where Quinn was in terms of where his dubs were. I was like, oh, I'm ahead by 10 reps. I'm good. And so then I took one more break. So I knew I could smash if I had to on the clean.
I love it when athletes share details like that about in the midst of the intense workouts that we do, that they have that level of awareness.
Well, that's the guy I had to beat, right? I mean, even though that yesterday happened, like I'm a competitor. I'm trying to get first still, so like you're going to have to keep going. Like it's not over yet. Like just like him having the bad event on the handstand wall, he came back and, got to work on the snatch and won it, so, I just, none of us are ever going to quit or make it easy for anybody. And that's one reason I love it. Like that fires me up.
This guy, Noah Wilson, did you know him before this competition?
I met him at Beach Brawl. The first workout was like a C2 bike and sandbag clean. And I was like, well, I'm going to win that workout. It's power output. Like no one's going to beat me in a power output workout. And dude, he was with me like the whole workout. I had to pass him in the last round. I had to really sell my soul. And that's when I first met. That's when I was like, who is this kid like coming onto the scene? And then we were moving 70-pound dumbbells. We did dumbbell DT with some dubs. And I think he won the workout or got second. He was right there with me, just moving 70-pound dumbbells. And I'm like, I don't know what workout he did. He must have done poorly in one of the workouts because he didn't make the podium. But I got to know him pretty quick. I was like, this guy's legit. And we chatted a little bit in the back, and I was like, well, kind of looking at the leaderboard on day 2, I was like, I wonder if he can move a 315-pound barbell.
Yeah.
And yeah, he can move it. So,
he was completely off my radar. I never had seen him compete before. And he just, sometimes it happens and a guy just shows up there and he just keeps having performances that are good enough to hang around. And I mean, you got a chance to kind of evaluate all the little things that didn't go right for you this weekend. And who knows, maybe he was the one guy this weekend where everything went right.
Yeah, he won the RX. I remember seeing him last year. He won the RX, and I was like, he's a pretty small guy to win the RX division. And then I saw him at Beach Brawl again, and I was like, this guy he's serious. So I'm excited to see where he goes. He's definitely making a name for himself. He'll explode.
And do you know the guy who finished 4th?
Johnson. Not well. I think he's up in
Mason Mitchell. Apparently knows him well.
Yeah, I think he's up in Nashville, but I'm not super familiar with him.
One of the things that I really like when I have the chance to do these live streams, it's just me, camera, or camera, phone, gimbal, whatever. If the competition schedule allows for it, is to do, even if it's only 1 or 2 questions, to do interviews with these types of guys. So I got a chance to talk to Noah. I got a chance to talk to Justin. And he basically said, oh, Oxford, Mississippi or Missouri. And I got a chance to talk to Justin, and he said that he would have made the semifinals last year if not for the penalties. And obviously there were a ton of people that got those penalties, but most of us just keyed in on the names that had made previous games or semifinals. And for the rest of them, we didn't really mention it. But then I spoke to him after the first day, and he said, I'm going to win the last workout. And I was like, oh, that's like, and he got 4th on that workout. Am I looking at this right? He got 4th on that workout, and the exact order of finish on that workout was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the guys who finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the competition. So I was wrong. It wasn't event 2. It was event 5 that was going to be the best predictor of the overall results, which, I mean, ring muscle ups and devil's press are, it's a nasty combo. If you're good at that, you're going to be pretty freaking fit. But he hung there. He was 5 seconds behind you on that event. And I think he's another guy that is, you know, especially in that kind of east southeast area, that was not someone I was aware of at all. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. I've seen his name a couple times, but I just didn't know much about him. But yeah.
This is like, for me, you know, that's one of the things that I love about going to competitions like this, is that you're always going to find someone. The guy who finished 10th, Troy Kopp, he was actually he and I were in the exact same location in March of 2020, and I never knew it. We were in Montreal for Atlas games that year during the sanctionals. And I haven't been in the same location as him since. He had some knee problems after that. He went out of competition for a while. He worked his way back. He won his heat in the swim. I talked to him right there. He said that, and I was like, damn. And he ended up with a top 10 finish in it. I mean, look, you were talking about Hank, Brandon Smith, Frank Minervini, Zach Levy, John Paul Hethcock, who, you know, these guys didn't make the top 10 in this competition. Like, this was like you said, it was the type of competition that you were looking for when you decided to do the qualifier.
Yeah, I was super, super happy when I saw, we looked at the leaderboard before we like actually signed up. I think I signed up like the day before the first workout was due. I just did the workout and we did it because we saw who was signed up. I was like, well, yeah, this is gonna be a great competition. Let's do it. Yeah.
So that was the Indies, and then you know, it's a unique thing. Maybe there's other competitions like this, but you finish that competition, you do the award ceremony, and a couple hours later, you're starting a brand new competition only on a team. Ashley Cope is your partner. And I mean, how do you just like reset like that within the same day for a brand new competition?
I think it would have been harder for me if it went team to Indy. Team's so natural for me. I just like really just, I love it. Like for me, it's like getting together with my friends and we're all throwing down, and that's just a blast. I feel like it's a lot less pressure, a little bit more like, how can I help my partner or my teammates, or, you know, what do I need to do to like carry my weight? And so, yeah, I think it would have been harder the other way around, but you know, she was, she's just like, all right, get ready, because you got to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, shoot, like we got to turn it back on. So I think that was the only thing, is like, just like in the back, it was really nice to see a lot of people that did the individual comp also doing the team as well. It's like everybody's tired, everybody's sore. Let's just go have some fun and see what our bodies can do now. I feel like that was where the most fun was for me, because I really get to see how far I can push my body.
How'd you end up on the team with Ashley?
We had briefly talked about it. I think it was like New Year's, like around New Year's. And, you know, because we had made a couple of jokes because she wanted to join our 11-24 team. And that's like kind of how our name came along, because I was like, oh, no, sorry, Ashley, you're too tall. Because like all of us were like the same height. And I'm just going to tell us, we've had a couple conversations about this now. And, you know, she's a great athlete. You know, but for me, like, I just kind of just said that it's kind of a joke, because it's just like, it's nothing about something about her. I just like, you know, we were talking to a couple other people, and yeah, but I was like, I did Mayhem on the Mountain with her, which is like a smaller local comp, And I said, she asked me if I would do with her. I was like, okay, but if we don't podium, I'm never going to be on your team again. And, so it gave her a little bit of fire to do it. Yeah, because originally I wasn't even going to do it at all. And then I was like, I'm going to be there anyways. And let's just do it. It'll be fun.
And I know that Ashley has also had, her ups and downs on and off the competition floor. And I feel like when I saw this team that you guys were listed together, I was like, ooh, this is a good team, because I think that both of you are kind of maybe back on the way up or on the way up, not just on the competition floor, but off of it, just like in a good place and able to maybe go out there and just kind of compete being in a good headspace.
Yeah, I feel like, again, everything for me is relational. And Ash and I didn't have a great friendship or relationship before that. Like, she's roommates with Sid. And, this was like a really good time for us to just kind of hey, let's be friends and work out. And she's had a tough year. And, it was just good for her to kind of see my attitude on the competition floor. I feel like she's more serious, locked in, and I'm just like a goofball. I'm like, let's get fiery, let's have some fun, but I'm locked in, but it's CrossFit. Ashley, you're a great athlete. Get up there, you can go do it. She's kind of freaking out about a couple things about the weekend. And I was like, hey, I don't care what you do, just do whatever. You look at your own lane and do the best possible that you can possibly do, and we're good. That's it. And so I'll just keep hammering that into her head, and that's all she needs. She's a great athlete. So it was fun to, I don't know, kind of just be that person for her.
And this was kind of an interesting competition, because you only took the floor 4 times as opposed to 5 on the individual side, but there were just more points available. Back-to-back events, or events that have 2 parts, are always tricky to navigate. Yeah. Are you a fan of them or not a fan of them?
I would have been a fan of it if it wasn't the last one. It was a really cool event. It was also crazy because you didn't know where anybody was. And I honestly, I think the cool thing about that is if you wanted to win, you had to go hard on that AMRAP, or else you weren't gonna, you were gonna just be too far behind. So yeah, I mean, overall, I really liked it. I wish it would have been before, because I would have had a lot less anxiousness about it.
Me too, honestly, by the way. It's super difficult to commentate a final that's 2 AMRAPs, and you're like, how do I keep track of all this stuff? And I don't have a desk or anything. I just have to try to keep track of what 16 teams are doing on 2 workouts at once.
Yeah, and I think some teams were game planning do I just win the ski? Do I just win the AMRAP? And so finally, we were kind of, Ashley's like, what do we do? And I'm like, Ashley, stop. I don't need your help on the ski. Just ski moderate. I'll take care of the ski on the last set. I got you. We need to do well in the AMRAP as well, because we need to be 5th on that. I'll get top 2 on the ski, and we'll be fine. No one can catch us then. And we did a little bit worse on the AMRAP. We made it a little bit too close for comfort, but yeah, I mean, it made us go hard, which is exactly what, honestly, the reason I think it was a good event. It made everybody really go for it, and that's really cool, because I think that if we're up by 22 points, we have 1 event left. We just have to get top 3, top 4, and we're fine. But there's 200 points.
A third of the total points.
Yeah, could shake up the entire leaderboard in 10 minutes. So
it's basically, if you think about, there's some competitions that are 3 days and there's 2 events per day. It's almost like a whole day of competition in 12 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I really do.
It was crazy to watch that. And then this team here and by the way, this team of Matt and Lisa, did you get a chance to talk to them?
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
These guys, for people who don't know, they're from Australia. They moved to the States. I think they're living in the training think tank, maybe coaching and working there and working out. They are genuinely awesome people. She's the nutritionist. He's a coach, programmer. You guys both went first, second, third, seventh, literally the exact same results on the weekend. And in that event, they went first on the AMRAP and third on the ski erg, and they're not that big. And there were people that were like targeting the ski. That was incredible to me that they did that.
They were ahead of us going into the last ski, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to suffer. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that exactly to Ashley. You gotta go a little bit more on the ski, but no, they crushed that. And I knew after the individual competition, I knew that they were going to be a good team. So I was glad that they were next to us the whole time. I tried to stay ahead of him on the AMRAP, and so it was a really fun battle. But yeah, they were great people, and they were, obviously very gracious once it came down to 5 tiebreakers for us to decide the winner. So, it could have easily went the other way, and they're really good competitors though.
They are, and it was I think it was a fun competition. The battle for third and fourth was also only 4 points apart, and that's kind of like a really, I think someone up here, Lynn, had said something really early on that I was curious about. She said, Lynn watches all our stuff, by the way. I won't be able to, and she watches so much CrossFit. She's so passionate about it. I won't be able to join the coverage. FOTC had the best program I've seen so far, and multiple divisions, even the kids. Curious from the athlete's perspective how you felt about it, whether it was actually, because you also get to see it at Wadapalooza where they do this individual and team. That's challenging to program for 2 separate divisions when you're encouraging athletes. Yeah, you can do both. Yeah. How would you say that they did on the programming side?
I thought it was awesome. I didn't like it. I felt like the workouts were enough to test everything, like different durations, different modalities, but still, if you want to do both, you could, and still also compete at both, not just get through the workouts. So I thought that was really cool. I also think from the team side, I think it's hard. I think it's really hard to program for a team event, to not let someone just kind of take over for everything and have a good balance of both, but also let different team members shine as well, because that's the whole point of team, right? Who can make the base game plan, utilize each other's strengths. I thought they did a great job of that, and obviously there was a lot of mix-ups, so I think that just shows that because there's so many good athletes on the team side, multiple different games people. Michael Jordan, they're 2 games people.
Corby Foxall and Kelly Benfey, Mike Needleman and Jordan Adcock, Brandon Fuhr and Daniel Dunlap. I mean, this was a cool team. Tori Garcia was with Travis Flanagan, who's 39 years old, Masters athlete, probably one of the favorites to win the 40-year-old division whenever he ages up there. Yeah, there were some savage teams out there, and it was close. that 5th and 6th was separated by 6 points. 7th and 8th was 8 points. So you had these little battles all the way down. And like you said, or like I said, you were able to make the podium on both. So it's not like it was so debilitating, the individual, that you couldn't compete on the team. Last year was the same thing. I think both Quinn and Amanda Fisher made both podiums. I think maybe Caroline Klutz also. God, they're so impressive. Patrick, do you have that clip from Adam Rogers queued up? I kind of wanted to close out with that, because we kind of got a chance, Reilly, to talk about your upbringing, what you've created there in terms of community, and then we dove into a little bit of the competition side here. But Adam Rogers is, if people don't know who this is, it's Alexis Raptis' coach. Is probably what he's most well known for, but he's one of the kind of core guys that's been with Training Think Tank for a long time. And Training Think Tank sent a ton of athletes there. Also, I think that they have one of the kind of, I don't know what the right word is, maybe cultures when it comes to the podcasts that they put out, where that's it feels to me like a really good forum for having open and honest conversation without ever feeling like they're necessarily condemning or attacking anything. Like they can just have real conversations. And FOTC actually clipped something that Adam said about Fittest of the Coast. So it's not on the screen right now, Patrick, but I know you have it queued up there. And I want to just let Reilly listen to it, and then maybe let you kind of wrap up your thoughts about this past weekend, following up on what Adam had to say. Is the audio going to come through or no? I guess not. He's talking about the community and that basically that he went there. I'll just paraphrase it since I guess the audio is not going to work, which is okay. That he went to this competition last year. He was impressed with the community. He was impressed with the organization. He felt like it was good experiences for the athletes that they brought. And as a result of that, when he went back to Training Think Tank this year, especially knowing what we had talked about earlier about how people are maybe not exactly sure what to do with this season, that they say, like, you can vote with your dollars, you can vote by showing up, and that it wasn't an accident, and it was with good reason that Training Think Tank had so many coaches and athletes that went to the competition this year, and that year 2 was very much in alignment with year 1 in terms of his experience, and specifically that while there are high-level athletes and kind of pro divisions here, that they have stayed true to their community roots.
Yeah, I think that needs to be said more, because I mean, really, the communities decide what they want, right? And so that is the way that you decide what you want. Show up to the things that you feel are serving the community and serving like the purpose of like CrossFit and like fitness in general and lifestyle. And then the things that you feel aren't, like, don't support it. And I get that. One thing, with that they're very, very clear is like, if someone runs a good event, I mean, we talked about this right after the last event, like they just ran it so well, and you could tell, like, based on what they do, like the things that they do outside of the competition, that Kyle cares way more about the people than he does about just the competition or making money or anything like that. Like, he genuinely wants to give back to this community and create experience. Um, you know, everybody does a qualifier. There's no invites. And I obviously I like to be on the other side of getting an invite, but it's really, really incredible that everybody knows that if they want to do Fittest of the Coast, they have to do the qualifier. It doesn't matter what your name is or what you've accomplished. Like, if you want to do it, do the qualifier. And so just like really, I think that's really important. Like, I just feel like we just need to have some standards and decide where we want to stand on that. And I just feel like Kyle does a really good job of that, right? He wants to just put on a really great event. And, there's no favoritism. There's anything like that. Like, hey, come compete or don't. And that's up to us, right? And so, yeah, just like Mason just said, that's how it should be. I fully agree with that. Because I mean, think about other athletes that do have to do the qualifier, take time out of their training and do all of that. Like, I just don't feel like they're as invested as somebody who decides, hey, I'm going to sign up for I'm going to sign up for this. I'm going to do the qualifier. I'm going to video everything. Because it takes energy, right? And so I think that's the best way to decide which direction we want to go as a community. Put your dollars and your time there, right?
That's what I always tell people. If, like, you want to learn double unders, go buy your own rope.
Yeah.
Now you've put an investment down, and now that you bought that rope, you're going to practice.
Yeah.
It's a little small example compared to a bigger one, but same concept.
For sure.
Dude, Reilly, this was honestly really fun and refreshing to do with you today. I appreciate you kind of making the time within relatively short notice. Patrick has a crazy schedule. He's in Germany right now. It's almost midnight there, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
And he's doing some work over there with the Army. But I knew he had a full day today. He still wanted to make time to do this, and we could do a recap show and look at leaderboards and whatever. But when we have a chance to bring someone on who did it, went out there, had some success with it, understands what it means to put in the work, and also has the perspective that you do, it's better than just hearing from us.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for having me, Pat and Patrick. Thanks for staying up. It's late.
Oh, this is. I'm just getting my head started.
What I didn't tell you is this is actually his primetime working hours.
It is.
He's like 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. is like when he gets everything done.
That's when the best work happens.
Yeah. But it definitely is. But no, especially when I like this kind of, like Ryan said, just two dudes who don't work out that much talking about CrossFit. It's always good to bring someone perspective. especially like this type of event where you got the podium in two different categories or so. And then it's you. Like I said, I've become a big fan of yours. Like Brian was talking about. It's funny when you run into somebody and you're like, oh man, I was at that competition. I was looking back at your Instagram. It's like, I tell Brian old time. I look back at that 2021 the Fittest experience and the amount of athletes there, because that was the first major competition coming out of COVID, and the amount of not amount of athletes, the amount of people that I know now that were a part of that competition. Some of these people have been like, they've turned into some of some of my best friends in the space, and it's just cool. Like you being there, and just like, and how it's kind of I've gotten to know you from just being a fan of your team, and just hearing great things about you, and then getting to talk to you guys all through Wadapalooza, and having a couple of drinks at the after party. It was really cool, and it's just like not many people get to experience hanging out with some cool athletes, but it's even better when that person is who they are when you see them on the competition floor, and what you do with your community, your faith, everything that you've done. I think you're that model. You're that you're the blueprint of how to run a successful, not only be a successful business owner, but just be a successful person. I think whatever you do from here on out, you just follow that path, and people are watching you at the same time, and they're taking notes too. So it's
I
not just
appreciate that.
it's also being a good leader, and I think you're a leader in this community, whether you want to be or not.
I appreciate that, and I gotta thank you guys too, because um, I didn't really think anything of it before, but I was watching one of the videos you guys posted after the clean event, and you guys kept that part in there where I said thank you Jesus, because that for me was like the culmination of like processing everything, giving it away, and just like having fun again. And I just kind of keep coming back to this heart of thankfulness. And that's really what drives me. I'm thankful that I get to reach out to people. I get to be around awesome people as well, and just super grateful. And so, thank you guys for catching that. That meant a lot to me.
Yeah, well, it's our pleasure to be a part of those moments. Yeah, and you're building what you have there, like Brian was talking about, like kind of that southeastern crew you have there. I mean, you talk about Ashley being a part of that. I mean, it's really cool seeing that because all those athletes are kind of collecting as friends, and you guys are there's a beacon of light there, and just keep on doing that, keep sharing that. And I think Chris Coach is a perfect example of you doing that, because I was watching the feed, and I remember watching just about every event that you finished. You were going back out that competition floor, trying to help someone else to get back, get across that finish line, and feel that enjoyment of finishing. And that says a lot, and that spreads. One person sees that, it spreads, and just keep on doing that good work, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Good work. You like that? That good work.
I love that. You saw my post. Yeah.
All right, Reilly, go enjoy the evening with your people, and
Appreciate it.
we'll see you on the road, brother.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Reilly, good, great having him on. And obviously the background noise there, but it was raining hard that entire time.
I know.
And it's been snowing here all day. I mean, it's gonna be I guess there's just a lot of precipitation maybe passing through. But thanks for making this happen today, PC.
Oh no, you made it happen. Like I said, I'm just here to just facilitate and
dude, it's so much better when you're here though, because you just I can have that conversation with them, and you can bring up all that stuff, and it's
fun stuff. I like that. Me, I like doing stuff like that. We didn't talk much about the women's field or some pro. I think it'd only be right if we kind of just to have a real recap to talk about that before we sign off for the night. So just rather quickly here, let's talk about with the pro female. Not really too much of a surprise on the podium. But
I mean,
it ended up being a really cool race.
Great. It was a really good competition. I didn't know what to expect from Christine Best at this one because, I talked to her when I first saw her the night before the competition, and I told her that, and she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, you haven't done any individual competitions in 2 years. You know, you just kind of, you never know. I have a feeling you're still fit. And she goes, I am. And she, you know, she did both competitions. She took second place in both the competitions she participated in, with Callista Lang on the pro female pairs team, and here behind Emma Harving. And I would say, and I thought Emma was one of the favorites coming into the competition. Emma, actually, honestly, she reminds me a lot of Reilly in terms of her demeanor. Like when it's 3, 2, 1, go, she competes really hard, but before and after, she seems like she's just like so happy, really enjoys being there. We see her competition finishes here. The event one was the pool, and she was, I mean, awesome on everything else once they got back inside the gym. And she ends up winning by, you know, a small margin over, you know, individual games athlete from 2020, and Christine Best, who, you know, has also competed at the games on the team. And this is a nice, I think a nice win for Emma.
It really is. She's one. You know, I know Emma obviously through the Army Warrior Fitness team. You know, here's someone. It's been a weird, quite a journey for her. She's a reservist in the Army. She deployed to Kuwait, and there's a gym there in Ali Al Salim, not Ali Al Salim. I'm trying to remember it. Camp Buring. It's right on the border of Iraq and Kuwait, and they have a little gym there. I kind of help. You know, I coached there a couple times. It's called Spartan CrossFit Spartan Shield, and it's a tent. It's just like what you expect expect like a tent, a gym on an army base in the desert to be like. It's a tent with a bunch of like dusty ass equipment in there. And she tried out for the team there. She was able to be put on active duty orders where she just trained. That's all she. I mean, well, she did other things, but she got to kind of grow as an athlete over the last 2 years as a member of the Warrior team. And you really saw it this year because she's still part of the Warrior team, but she's not full time. So she's back to being a reservist, but working full time. But so she has a full time job in the Army, but she's out there. She's out there in I believe North Carolina, doing that, and she's with her coach, so she's getting like hands on training with it. But what I saw from her at the IF3. And she was nowhere near peaking at the time, but she, you know, had the international competition experience against women she normally wouldn't see outside of, you know, she wouldn't see unless she did international competitions. And she did really well. And seeing her come here and do this well against a really good field, I believe. I mean, you know, you have a bunch of semifinals here that actually are, you know, on paper should be better than her. But it's shown her growth over the last year, and talking to her she was really excited about this. A win like this can really boost your confidence, especially going into the season. You know, you're going in with a lot of momentum, and her last 2 events being an international competition, finishing 8th, and then now doing kind of a local regional comp with some big names like, you know, games athletes like Christine Best. It's really cool. I'm looking. She's one of those athletes probably on the come up. Keep an eye on her. She already has the strength, and you see some of these other finishes. I mean, she's become a runner. You know, she's self-admittedly not a good runner, and she's been working hard on it. And you could tell just on her form. And really excited to see what she can do.
And Chloe Carano takes third there. It's her third place or third podium in the last 8 or 9 months, I think. Getting back to July.
Metcon Rush. I thought, Metcon Rush, MBS Turkey Challenge, and then this. So, and she's one of only 2 athletes, her and Allison Wynn, which we will talk about here too. Only one of 2 athletes record top 10 finishes in every event. I mean, you got to see her. You know how I feel about her in terms of her talent level. She's shown so much. It started with TFX last year. She kind of burst on the scene at Granite Games a couple of years ago. Did really well in the first event, kind of rode that momentum, and then was in the first heat for the second day and kind of fell off. And back then she was 20 years old, and she's dealt with some injuries. But this year, this past TFX, not this one that we had, but in 2024, hit the competition floor again, a live competition. You know, I think finished like 6th or 7th. And then she actually reached out. We've talked about this, like, you know, hey, if there's athletes out there who need our help, whether it be fighting a competition or whatever, um, she reached out to me, asked me, "Hey, you're right. I think I should start, looking at a coach or a program." So we're able to hook her up with HWPO, and she's part of the HWPO elite athlete path there. And since she started that, she's like I said, she's been kind of on a really good ride here with 3 podium finishes. All yeah, 3 third places. Yeah, I believe. Or no, she got second at Metcon, right? I'm trying to remember.
I think no, third, third,
Yeah,
third,
so
third.
that's third place finishes, and she's doing it in different ways. And I told her, I'm like, these are 3 different type of competitions, 3 different type of uh, uh, programming, um, and her showing consistency across 3 different competitions with 3 different type of fields. It shows like her growth as an athlete, and you can see that. I don't know if you can tell the difference when you talk to her from MBS to this competition, but for me, I can see a lot more confidence in her.
Yeah, it's as I was saying when Reilly was on here, like at these comps, I get a chance to interview kind of some more athletes, and so I did get to do an interview with her there, as well as one at this event, and you can definitely notice. Maybe it's subtle, or maybe it's only guys like us that are really kind of paying attention to what the athletes are saying and thinking and the way that they're presenting themselves. But she's young, she's got some talent. She's got, as you see when you had her event finishes up there, like she's got the potential to win some events, and she also is coming in with a little bit more, I think, self belief and therefore kind of hunger for more. Like when I spoke to her, I think it was after event 3, so it was at the end of day number 1. She had got the win on that one, and it kind of put her back in the mix. It was the women's field was kind of compressing at that point, which is normal after 3 events. Like you have 3 different data points, and she basically was saying like, I didn't come here for third. Whereas in the past, she might have said, yeah, if I podium, that would be great. And it's just these like, even though the result is still a third, and I think she's going to be feeling differently about this one than she would have, 6 months ago or something like that in a good way.
Yeah. And it was cool because that last day she was there with Emma, Christine, and her. And I think that's something she needed, kind of like that race. And, she was racing with those athletes, that final event, where it was basically lunge by lunge. Christine, kind of just out lunged her, and Emma was right on her tail. So, that's the type of stuff like these competitions. And I say that a lot. It's like there's no better test of your fitness and where you're at if you don't do it, even if you aren't peaking, and doing a competition like this isn't, maybe one a month or one every 2 months. It's not a bad idea to kind of just gather data on yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're an elite athlete or not. I know a lot of elite athletes, they tendency to just stick around for the big ones, but I would like to see more elite athletes, kind of like what they do in Europe. We see it with Karen Freyova, with Luca. Um, they kind of hit that like local scene, and and they
Shoot,
make
man, Pixel Showdown this last weekend.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they make a decent paycheck out of it too. Sorry, but yeah. And I was really impressed by Christine. I mean, she is going team this year, but it's cool like her to kind of throw her hat in there, and it's cool. I mean, she's 35 years old. She's a vet. She's done it all, and I know talking to Emma, it was really cool for her to kind of like, kind of beat her, but at the same time, there's a lot of respect there.
Yeah,
Allison Lynn, I mentioned before, what a good competition for her. I mean, we've seen her name, but she's usually like, we discuss who she is, and then by the end of the competition, we're not talking about her. But like I said, 5 top 10 finishes, just really consistent across the board. Yeah, I think it's a really good. I mean, it's a good data point going into the season with her.
Yeah, and I would the last couple of years the competitions she's done have been Crash Crucible, Dubai, which are like higher level of competition across across the board and at the top than this one is. But so she's finishing in the teens or low 20s at those comps, which is fine. You're still getting that competition experience that you're talking about, but it is nice to also put yourself in competitions every so often where you're battling for the podium. And she was in the hunt for the podium the entire time.
Yeah. And then McKenna Enslin, who she kind of jumped on the scene last year in semifinals at Syndicate. She's the training partner for Paige. I mean, did you get an opportunity to talk to Paige at all?
Not really. She was there. I only saw her like when McKenna was competing, or when
Yeah,
maybe one other athlete was competing, and then she, by the time I was done, she was gone. So I
yeah,
didn't get. You're talking about Paige Semenza.
yeah. Paige
Um,
Semenza, that's her. Like Paige is like really high on McKenna. She's a big fan of McKenna.
I
It's
was
just like
high on McKenna. I think I actually picked her to win this. And she had a. I didn't know about her swimming. Swimming's not
mhm,
tested at a open or quarterfinal, semifinal level. And then she also had. Wait, go down to the. Just scroll down so you can see the event 5. Yeah, event 5 was with the ring muscle at Devil's Press, and I was not expecting her to finish outside the top 5 on that event either.
mhm,
Um, but she still had those two top 3 finishes. She still had an event win. She's quite strong. That was that squat clean event.
mhm.
Um, and I think that it's a name that you'll continue to see. She's in her, I guess,
Mid
late 20.
20s.
I don't know,
Yeah,
27, 6 or 7.
27. 27.
Um, so she's absolutely got like a skill set that can be built upon. And
Mhm.
if you just think about the guy we just talked to, Riley, like,
Yeah,
when he was 27, he was competing in competitions, and he was, just gaining that experience. And, he's now 31, 32, and he's specifically focusing on ring muscle ups and legless rope climbs. And I think that when she gets a little bit more just reps, basically with that kind of stuff, that she's got a really good baseline of aerobic capacity and strength to build upon. So McKenna Enslin, 5th place here, like stayed in the fight the whole time. But I think a name to make a little footnote of, similar to Noah Wilson or Justin Johnson.
yeah. Is there any other? I mean, kind of like based on what you saw, any athletes just to be someone you talk to keep an eye on for this 2020, the rest of the year.
I mean, I don't know. The young girls, Emily Meyer and Haley Rolfe, they hung in the competition, did their thing. They both competed on both sides of it, and it's always notable to me when someone is not 20 years old yet and able to qualify for these competitions. And then also when you see people like that, you're just wondering, like, if how's their headspace. And it felt like they were there, like like they're competing, but they weren't like getting down on themselves because of how they were doing. And you heard Reilly talk about that, how like when you can get caught up in, I should do this, if I do that, if I do this, instead of just going out there and doing your thing. And it felt like they were both really good at just doing the event, competing hard, and not letting it affect them, which I think is a really, like, it's even like a more positive thing for a 19-year-old than showing up and taking a podium at one of these events, but having a really up and down um, mental experience or emotional experience.
Yeah, first time I saw both of these young women, I saw them at the pit in 2021. They're both, I believe, 15 years old, and Emily was, I mean, I believe she's like a state caliber swimmer. At least she was in high school. So, like that first event, she was in that first heat. To see her take those huge, like 2, 3 body length leads on the swim, kind of faulted on the squats, but it just shows the type of talent, like in terms of, it's cool to see someone who has a talent like that from her high school days, and then it carries over into the CrossFit realm. It's not many competitions like Emily Meyer get to show off her swimming ability, and it was really cool to watch. And I know, you being a former swimmer, it was kind of cool watching you commentate that, because I it's just really neat. Um, but like Haley's the same way. They're both in college. They're both having fun. Training is not a priority for them. They're not training for games. They're just, right now, they're training because they love fitness, and they do these competitions because it's fun. It's fun. It's like, for them, it's like, almost like intramural sports. But they're
I
doing
wonder
something.
if they'll do the college division at Pitt
Right?
Teen this year, because that's like, to me,
That's
that's
right up
like the
their alley. Yeah.
perfect person that that's designed for. And I will echo this in any conversations that I can when it comes up. I think that college age group that Brock and Stephanie and the 15 crew has created an competitive outlet for
Mhm.
is so critical. I really like, if there was one thing that I could just like implant into Dave Castro's head, it would be like, add a college division. to the game season. If I could put that in WFP's mind, because they've expanded to I think a 17 to 19-year-old division, like give me a 20 to 22-year-old division. It's the same way as MFC creating that 30 to 34 division. That's very rare. It's like it gives people those, we talked about it with Reilly. Like it gives people a competitive outlet. There are athletes in those age ranges that can make it, but there's so few. And it's like, if you get to be 30, 31, 32, and you're like, I just don't have it anymore, that by the time you're 35, who knows what's happened if you don't have an outlet to go and compete against your peers. And I think it's way more profound when you age out of the teenage division, and then you're 18 through 22 years old, where, like you were alluding to, in almost every other sport, whether it's a collegiate sport, a club sport, an intramural sport, you can still play. And I think that in the world of competitive fitness, if I was in charge of overseeing a competition or a series of competition or a tour like the World Fitness Project is looking like it's going to shape up to be, I would absolutely be creating and advertising and marketing and supporting that, because it's only the pit team throwdown that's really done it. And I would be calling them and talking to them about it and introduce us to these people. So, and maybe athletes like Haley and Emily also can be advocates for that by participating in things like that.
Well, I mean, when you create that age division or that group, what you're doing is you're cultivating the future. You're just not depending on the team. I mean, that's what the teen divisions are, cultivating future. But again, you'll see a lot of those teen athletes, only maybe, a handful move on into the elite. And then you have athletes like George Sterner, who did really well and kind of fell off, but now he's coming back. It's only because that busy time in his life, there was other things he wanted to do. Not all those athletes after becoming a teen, they all have the desire to be a professional CrossFitter, but reality sets in. They're like, I got to get a job. I got to go to school. I got to live. It's just, so that's what they.
And look at the MFC. It's not just one division either. Like there's RX and intermediate, or maybe it's elite and RX or whatever it is. That like where you don't have to be putting an exorbitant amount of priority in your life towards competing in those divisions. You can still do the 60 to 90 minutes a day of training that George does, and even if you're not making the top of the college division, you still have a division to compete in if you want to. And it's, someone was in the comments earlier when we were talking about it, like every person that competes for that, I think it was HCRCBD actually that had made the comment, like about that, that healthy outlet that competition can be for anyone.
Yeah. And it allows those athletes to kind of mature and figure out like how to prioritize things. Like, George, he doesn't have 4 hours a day to kind of, spend in the gym, but now that he's, in the workforce, he's been able to kind of figure out like, hey, I can do a session in the morning, I can do one in the afternoon and get in my, 3 hours of training. And it's, but that's how these women have to do. I mean, like Emily and Haley, they're college students. I mean, someone like Reese Reese Littlewood is dealing with too. She's a freshman at South Carolina, the same school that Emily Meyer's at. So, just the perks of being a college student. But, I know like Emily, she's really involved with, her college. I mean, she's in a sorority, South Carolina, you've seen it. I mean, those game days they're a big deal. It's like live her life, have fun. But she's also knows that she can still find time for the gym and still be a part of this community. And I think that's really cool. Same with Haley. So, yeah. Let's move on to the pro team pro women.
I mean, this was.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, because so you don't have to click on all of them if you don't want to. But this is Caroline Klutz and Stevie Dellinger. They pretty much dominated this division. Yeah. They have a ton of team experience. I picked them to win it, and they did not disappoint. I mean, they took first or second on every event. I mean, they are so good. Christine Best, as we mentioned, Celeste Lang, fun name there, Lang Island's Best, ended up taking second. They also had a really impressive competition. There was not much, really anyone competing with them for second place. And then Shark Tank was a an athlete who had a top 10 finish individually, and Logan Thomas, that I didn't know too much about, competing with Hannah Hardy. If I had known how good Logan was, I think I would have picked this team to podium. And she's incredibly strong for her side. Like, I think she has a 270-pound clean. If that's what, I think that's what Hannah told me.
Wow.
It's like, what? Yeah. And the team that finished fourth is a team that CC, or Sierra Cole, and Steph Grange, who also have a lot of team experience. It was a fun division to watch. It was pretty impressive division, but it was the least competitive of the 5 pro divisions, where like the teams just kind of strung themselves out and they just kind of stayed that way.
Yeah. And then you see some of the Allison win, collecting, just missing out on another podium with Gabrielle Ocker. I think Gabrielle was on that training team that made the games, right? Last year or a couple years ago.
Maybe. I'm not 100% on that.
And then Spaghetti and Meatball. Who do we have on that one? Michaela O'Connell and Sydney Pollack. I'm not CrossFit 401.
So Sydney is very tall, and Michaela is more of a shorter, stocky build. That's where the team name comes from. They had some really nice performances. Michaela competed in the individual side as well.
Yeah. Oh, this was really cool. I did watch this,
the final event.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah, because Emma Harving and Sydney Mouskowitz, they're like best friends, former, they're teammates on the Army Warrior Fitness team. And so it was really cool to see them two out there competing against each other, having some fun. I did. That's, it's really cool for like someone like Emma, and we mentioned Emily Meyer, two women that are like, could be like polar opposites in terms of like their career. Like I said, Emily's a college student, Emma Harving's, in the military, but they have that connection of being training at Carolina CrossFit. So that's really cool. Finishing 8th or 7th, followed by Noble Defenders. The Team Pro Men.
This was a good competition. The guys that won it were not really on my radar to win. It was I never asked them what potato chips.
They have the best name, and they're not on your radar.
Not to win, but I know Johnny from some past competitions. I've seen him compete. I think he might have competed individually here last year even. I didn't know Gage as well, but dude, these guys were good. Like, they were really good. You have the results up there. They started strong. Johnny was 8th 2 years ago. I was impressed, and I can't remember what they said, but I feel like they may do a team together. Johnny's current at a CrossFit Dreamland. Engage, I think, trains on his own. But yeah, I mean, they were the best team, and they deservedly won it. The 2 teams that finished behind them were teams that this team I thought would be a podium threat for sure. Evan and Tristan are very good. The interesting thing about these guys is they're both dads, and I think having either just had or are expecting another. And did a little interview with them at one point. Fun to talk to, compete really hard. Both of these teams only did the team competition. And it ended up being kind of 3 teams pulling away. And the third team on the podium was a team that I didn't have pegged for podium at all until the substitution was made. I didn't know who Frank's original partner was, Jordan Kolowski. I didn't know him. Obviously, I know Nate Ackerman, and I saw Nate, and I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, Frank asked me to join his team, so I drove like 10 hours, and now I'm here.
That's awesome.
And I talked to Nate. He got a little burnt out. He's just been lifting a bunch. He posted some crazy lifting numbers. The kid is insanely strong, but he's got a huge base of fitness. He trained a little bit. He's been training the last couple of weeks, I guess. And I mean, they were in the mix. They were pretty good. So a lot of ended up being a decent amount of experience on the podium when things were said and done.
Yeah, well, that's kind of cool. Like, we talk back to that college division. That's a type of division that's like kind of tailor made for someone like Nate.
For me, I would say the surprise or shock or standout of the weekend was these guys that finished 4th. Aurelius Lamas, which I also didn't really ask him what that was, but Jacob and Kurt.
Oh, Jacob.
And Jake, yeah. I just didn't know much about him. Kurt competed last year. He was just kind of, or 2 years ago, excuse me. He was just kind of whatever. And he basically said that Jacob is carrying this team. And I said to him, no, you can't have one, like Reilly said, you can't have one guy carry the team to a 4th place in a division like this. They're on the smaller side, and they really capitalized on their strengths, but they didn't give like too much away. So they still got they got 13th. They almost got 200 calories on that ski erg event, and I think they might have won the AMRAP. That was happening at the same time, or second or third on it. But yeah, didn't see these guys coming, and they beat quite a few really good teams. You're muted. But Grit House taking 7th. There was a team for his glory that they beat. The NBDESP had Hank Granata and Nick DeMarco on it. That's a good team. That super fit team out of Florida, I didn't know those guys too well, but I think that they always compete. Ryan Ziesloff and Steven, I think he's got an updated name, Pipe and Clegg. They, I think these guys always compete at ACC, Tampa Bay games, some comps that we were aware of but haven't been involved in. But yeah, it was a pretty deep division, and those guys just really impressed me, the 4th place team.
Yeah, what I like about this competition, and we've seen it in the past, where you can see like teams forming, where you can have both males compete, and then have their females in other division competing. So they kind of build that like teamwork. So it's pretty kind of cool. Like you saw that with Grit House and some of the other athletes. So there might be some teams forming just in those divisions with the guys. Like you get 2 guys who are like, hey, let's do a team competition. They're like, man, that was fun. Let's find 2 girls and let's give a team a try. So, oh, sorry, just dry air. Yeah. So that's the Fittest of the Coast again. We all the events were streamed on B.Friendly Fitness. Great job with that. If you notice, there's a couple. Yeah, I've been meaning to ask you. I mean, we had 2 camera views. We had a wide view, and then you on the floor. I mean, was that something you were doing yourself, or did we have some help on that?
I was switching between the camera views myself. Rodri always he always sets everything up for me. So, we had to sync all the settings to make sure that could happen. And then he basically just programs it as another scene. So it's like, I can pull up the workout. I can also switch to a different camera view. In the pool, it was great because where I had the camera, nobody else was allowed to go in that area. Like fans and athletes weren't over there. So, but in the main arena, there wasn't a great place for me to put it where I could get the full wide shot without being in the way of either the equipment team, athletes entering or exiting the floor, some media people coming in and out of the floor. So I didn't use it as much in there, but it is something that we can do, and we'll be experimenting with more going forward.
No, I really like that because obviously, as good as the POV single view is, every now and then, it'd be kind of cool to go wide, especially if you can kind of direct that. So, I right at the top of my head, that would have been great at FitFest, kind of have that option, because they had the team so far apart from each other, they weren't competing lane by lane. It would have been nice to kind of go wide on that to kind of give some perspective on it, especially if I was transitioning from one side to the other. But,
yeah, because you can throw it there, walk to where you want to be, get another shot. People can still keep track of what's happening.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a transition shot too. So we're learning, we're getting there. But I do want to talk about maybe that's something we can share for next week. I know it'll be kind of 2 weeks later, but I have a busy schedule this week. But I do want to talk about pixel games. Maybe we should do that next week. Kind of, catch up. Maybe bring a guest on. I really like the idea of bringing a guest on and kind of recapping them and kind of, doing that. I know you have some ideas. We have quite a few athletes we can choose from at the pixel games. But that was a fun one. It's really cool. Yeah. So let's plan on doing that next week. probably same thing. Maybe do Wednesday or maybe Tuesday, Wednesday show. I like to do 2 next week, but we'll figure it out. Depends on schedule.
Yes. This was good enough for today, and I
Yep.
definitely do want to talk about the Pixel Showdown. There's not a ton of competitions happening right now. Most people are, getting ready for whatever the version of the season will look like for them. In fact, I have one competition on my calendar that's happening in Greece this upcoming weekend. And that's it that I have over the next 2 weeks. So we'll do a Pixel Games review next week. I want to talk about some WFP things that have been updated at some point, but there's no stress on any of that stuff. So we'll do it. Let's do it next week.
Yeah, let's definitely do that next week. I'm really looking forward to maybe seeing your preseason WFP rankings. Maybe that's something we'll see soon.
No, I think I'll do that. I was going to actually tell you off air that I was going to do that.
Oh, okay. So, spoiler alert for me, I guess. But all right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Again, another 2-hour episode. I actually have to jump off and have a midnight call. That sounds bad, but I have a call. I have a call here to take. So, again, thanks for joining. Thanks for all the comments. Pool Boy, Mason, the regular crew, Jo was in there. Thanks for coming in, putting some comments in there. Some good words to Reilly. It just shows you that, someone like Pool Boy, he's coming from the West Coast, and, he was kind of like impressed and impacted by Reilly. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, yeah, he's not the big name, but to us, it's not about the name. It's about the character and the content of that person. And with that being said, falling in line with that, hey, everyone have a good day today. And as always, be friendly, our friends.